Support for WUWM podcasts comes from University School of Milwaukee, fulfilling a values-based mission of developing learners, fostering leaders, and preparing citizens for pre-kindergarten through 12th grade. More information at usm.org/mission.
Lake Effect brings you conversations about what's happening in Milwaukee and the people, places, and organizations that shape our community. This is Lake Effect Spotlight from WUWM, Milwaukee's NPR. This weekend marks the 15th anniversary of Doors Open Milwaukee. The annual event takes place every September, with dozens of buildings citywide opening their doors to visitors. It's a chance to see parts of the city that are usually hidden from the public. For many, the annual event has become a weekend-long extravaganza filled with revealed secrets, childlike wonder, and curious engagement. Lake Effect's Sam Woods dives into how the event got started and what keeps it fresh every year.
Let's take it back 15 years. Phones were becoming smart, the economy was greatly recessing, and TikTok was a Kesha song. And around that time, George Wagner, who would go on to found Doors Open Milwaukee, was flipping through books in Toronto.
I was looking through a book that was actually written by a former mayor of Toronto, in which he was describing Doors Open Toronto. And that's what kind of got me hooked into thinking, I wonder, could we do that here in Milwaukee?
But while Wagner says Toronto was the first city to bring an event like Doors Open to North America, they weren't the last. Soon, he was on a trip to Denver to check out their rendition of Doors Open.
I was still working. I was a librarian at the Central Library in Milwaukee. Went on a Saturday morning, came back on a Sunday night, and went to many different sites that Doors Open Denver had. The thing that impressed me the most was the smiles on people's faces as they were walking around downtown Denver, having just gone into or getting ready to go to another site. And Denver has some really excellent buildings. However, I knew enough about Milwaukee to know that we actually had more.
Wagner had done tours with Historic Milwaukee before, so he pitched the idea to them. And Historic Milwaukee, as a nonprofit with a mission to build awareness of Milwaukee's architecture and history, the project was an easy sell. The first Doors Open Milwaukee would be held in 2011. To drum up enthusiasm, Wagner said he first focused on recruiting the big fish downtown to participate. Soon, he convinced the library, City Hall, and the U.S. Bank building to participate. The results proved the concept.
We figured we had something in the order of 10,000 people that went through our sites that first year, and that probably exceeded our expectations.
But from the beginning, Wagner wanted Doors Open Milwaukee to be more than the big-ticket buildings or the sheer number of people visiting. He wanted it to be a way for people to reconnect with the city.
You know, a lot of people in the Milwaukee area grew up in the city of Milwaukee, and then they moved out to further suburbs. And so one of the ideas was to kind of say, come back home to Milwaukee. You know, don't just come here to a Bucks game and then maybe a restaurant. You're passing up all sorts of things. You know, there are buildings that are very interesting and people doing lots of different things in small manufacturers or large ones or large buildings that you don't get a chance to go behind the scenes and see these things and how they actually operate. And so that was kind of an incentive to try to get a lot of former Milwaukeeans who didn't really come back to the center of town anymore, or only for, maybe they'll go to Summerfest, but then they leave right away. And to get them to come back to appreciate the great bones that we had in this city.
I'm Kim Cunningham. I am a Doors Open Milwaukee superfan and a Historic Milwaukee volunteer.
Kim Cunningham has been coming to Doors Open since 2017. Now, Doors Open is a 2-day event, Saturday and Sunday, with some locations open the whole time, others only 1 day. Some visitors pick 1 or 2 locations a year in between other weekend activities. But from the beginning, Cunningham has chosen to make a whole weekend of it.
That first year, I visited 15 different buildings, and I was, as you say, I was hooked.
Cunningham says she's kept up a similar pace every year, visiting 15 to 20 sites while also finding time to volunteer with Doors Open. She says she loves meeting the owners of various buildings, talking art with art gallery directors, or talking plants with established gardeners. For her volunteer shift, she manages other volunteers at sites in between her own visits. So on Doors Open weekend, everyone knows her calendar is booked.
My family and friends know that, that third weekend in September, I am not available.
Cunningham is also a huge fan of Chicago's version of Doors Open. And it turns out Milwaukee has fans from down south as well.
I've been around people who I've met in Chicago during their event who come here, and it's like, oh, I remember you. And yeah, so it's always like interesting how far the reach is for the event and how many people from different areas it attracts.
Wagner would not be surprised to hear this. He remembers volunteers from the early days coming in from far and wide and going above and beyond.
We had a guy who came down from Toronto who had been involved in the Toronto Doors Open. And he had a van, and in his van, he made out badges and with lanyards. And he made them out for all our volunteers. He came back a couple of years more after that. I mean, it was just like, who does that? Didn't charge us for anything, did the whole thing. And so, I mean, it took a lot of people like that who went over and above, and not just people from town who helped us be a success.
But for Cunningham, the access to buildings and the people she meets are not the only draw. The weekend event also keeps a lifelong passion of hers alive.
I've been doing photography since I was about 11 years old. First camera my parents ever gave me was a Vivitar 110. I've taken photography classes all through, high school, and my BFA is in photography from UW Milwaukee. And Doors Open Milwaukee gives me a chance to be able to, not only combine my love of architecture, but combine my love of photography as well.
And she loves a hidden gem.
I am a sucker for different ornamental elements that are inside buildings or outside buildings. Sometimes I'll get people see me getting on the floor and taking photographs of tile or close ups or like door handles or like door hinges.
And like Wagner, Cunningham sees Doors Open as a prime opportunity to let Milwaukeeans feel like insiders, but also for people outside the city to remember why people love living here.
People from other cities or other parts of the state may think, oh, it's a bad city, it's crime-ridden. And I think Doors Open Milwaukee can help me take photographs of these old beautiful buildings and show people that we're not just what the headlines portray us to be. We still have beautiful buildings, beautiful people, and basically beauty in some places where people may not expect it.
I'm Ashley Town. I am the owner of Bayview Printing Company, and we are a 110-year-old letterpress printing shop in Bayview.
And Ashley Town knows beauty. She came to Milwaukee as an art student, eventually taking over the Bayview print shop. Printing was not something she studied or something she originally sought out. Before owning the print shop, she was a graphic designer, and she appreciated beauty in the printed form, but was looking for something more manual, something to do with her hands. And when she first walked into the print shop to visit, it was a timeless kind of beauty.
So letterpress is the original form of printmaking. So we have a huge collection of wood and lead type, and then antique printing presses, and that's how we produce everything that we make. I mean, if you ever come to the shop, you can feel it. Like you walk into the basement and you feel like you've walked into a different era. Like everything down there is anywhere from 80 to 150 years old. It smells like a print shop. It smells like paper and ink and history and cabinetry and metal and all of those things. And so no, printing was not a hobby of mine, but I immediately fell in love with it when I found the shop.
She soon took over as owner of the shop and got to work making a business out of it. But it wasn't always easy attracting people to the shop. About 10 years ago, Historic Milwaukee reached out to her to see if her business would like to participate in Doors Open. Town had been to Doors Open as a visitor and was a fan of the event's advertising art style. But her reasons for saying yes to hosting were also practical.
So from the business side of things, we were kind of like, it would be cool if people knew who we were.
And if you open your doors, they will come.
Yeah, I kind of thought, oh, maybe we'll give tours to 100 people. Wouldn't that be amazing if 100 people came through the doors this weekend? And we were open all day Saturday, all day Sunday, and we gave tours to 1,600 people. It was absolutely wild. It was just, the shop was completely full for 8 hours, 2 days in a row. My son was 6 or 7 months old. Yeah, 6 months old. And so my husband would bring him over in between tours, and I would stand in a corner and breastfeed and then give the baby back to my husband and give another tour. It was just constant. That's small business life.
Like Wagner wanting doors open to be an opportunity for suburbanites to spend time in the city, the sheer number of people is one thing, but the softer metrics matter too. Though Town had been so entranced initially by the print shop, when she bought the place and started running it, it slowly became a business. The day-to-day chiseled away at her initial wonder, and walking into the shop for the 1,000th time just didn't hit the same as the first time. But Doors Open gives her a chance to travel back in time to when she first discovered her business.
I mean, we always walk away from this weekend so fulfilled. It can be really easy to forget that what I have is so magical, to own something that is literally a piece of history. But it's always really cool to have a bunch of people in the shop who have never been there before. There's always a kid that opens a drawer and picks up a piece of wood type, and it's to show a kid that you can hold language in your hands, and hold history in your hands. That's always really cool. Kids always light up. I think it reminds us that what we have is important, and we should continue to cultivate that education.
This year, Doors Open celebrates its 15th year. It's grown out of downtown to incorporate neighborhood tours to help visitors not just get familiar with Milwaukee's buildings, but to engage with its neighborhoods. Grace Four, events director at Historic Milwaukee, explains how ticketed tours are now folded into the weekend event.
This year we have about 40 ticketed tour sites, and some are building tour sites, so the ability to go to the top of the City Hall bell tower or tour Jones Island. You need tickets for those, and those are free because they're at municipal sites. But then there's also some unique walking tours. So George leads a walking tour on the east side. That's great. We partner with the Wisconsin LGBT History Project to do a walking tour with them in the Walker's Point neighborhood, and there's dozens of others. So lots of great ticketed tour opportunities to kind of get more in depth.
But in accordance with Wagner's original vision, that Doors Open would be an opportunity for people to reevaluate preconceived notions of Milwaukee, Four says Historic Milwaukee is now finding ways to measure that softer impact.
We measure this now on a survey. We kind of ask people, did this event make you feel proud to be a Milwaukeean? And 90% of people who are Milwaukeeans say, yes, it did. We also ask if people visited a neighborhood they were previously unfamiliar with, and if they plan to visit the neighborhood again. And again, those are really high percentages of people who visited a neighborhood that maybe they had never been to before because of Doors Open, had a great experience and plan to go back there. So we hope that the program has a ripple effect beyond just the one weekend. And then also speaking to the who's taking the tour, and it's a really nice split of people who live in the city of Milwaukee, people who are visiting from our suburban neighbors and surrounding counties and other states, and more people from Illinois think that Milwaukee is very cool.
So next time you're at Doors Open, by all means, enjoy the buildings. You should absolutely enjoy the unique opportunity to get an inside peek at your favorite spots and meet someone new who shares your enthusiasm for architecture, for history, for neighborhoods, for whatever brings you out that weekend. All of that is what this weekend is for. But also, remember how George Wagner wanted to create something that coaxed people back into a city they grew up in. Or remember how Kim Cunningham documents stereotype-defying beauty in the mundane, whether it's of a courthouse carpet or a vaulted roof. Or remember how Ashley Town summons the technology of a bygone era to create an alphabet you can hold, and how she cannot wait to share that wonder with you. Remember what this weekend is all about, and keep your door open to beauty.
That piece was produced by Lake Effect Sam Woods. WUWM is one of the organizations taking part in Doors Open this Saturday. Join us at Chase Tower to learn about our work and see our studios and workspace. You can find more interviews like this one by visiting wuwm.com/Lake Effect. And while you're there, subscribe to the Lake Effect Spotlight podcast.